Greetings, cannabis friends, and welcome to episode 2 of From Soil to Oil. I'm your host, Al Morenton, and this is my journey of from planting these cuttings into the soil, going through the growth cycle, harvesting, and ultimately extracting into Rick Simpson oil or full extract cannabis oil. Hence the name of the series, From Soil to Oil. Okay, so today is April 25th, 2024. In the first episode, in the last video, it was just 4 days ago on a Sunday, and I was gonna transfer the plants, the cuttings from these red solo cups into the soil, and I thought it'd be cool to actually chart the journey, so I actually thought up the idea for the series 4 days ago. And so this isn't like a how-to, this is more of a how I'm personally doing it, okay? So I'm not like trying to get the most, buds per square inch in my growth tent or anything like that. I'm just trying to get like super awesome, beyond organic biodynamic material that I can extract into awesome oil that's going to help some people. Okay, so as I said, 4 days ago, I went from the solo cup into here. If you want to hear the journey that the plants took before that, then go to episode 1. It'll be linked in the notes below and also at the end of this video. But again, the plants were in here for 2 weeks in these red solo cups, and then I transplanted them into these fabric pots. These are, let me see, they're fabric pots, right? Let me see if I can tilt this down a little bit. Yeah, so they're I think they're AC Infinity fabric pots, and they're 10-gallon, and are just jammed 3 rows of 3 in here. So I'll talk about like what the ultimate goal is in a minute, but I first want to go over let's go over what I'm going to cover in the video. When I go over how the plants are doing, the grow environment that they're in, like I was just starting to describe, like the soil, the water, the pots, the tent, etc., and then the plans for the grow, like the next steps I'm going to take, etc. Okay, so getting back to the pots and the soil. Okay, so there are these fabric pots, let's go over here, these fabric pots, and they're supposed to breathe or whatever better, and they're AC Infinity. I bought a few different products from AC Infinity, so I thought I'd support them more and buy their pots, and so they have these little rings here, so you can tie down branches and do the different little things that are neat and just make your life a little easier. Plus they have these handles that are cool too, anyways. I'm using a soil for this called Build-A-Soil, and I think I mentioned, but these are 10-gallon grow bags, okay? And we're using this Build-A-Soil, and it's like a natural, like living soil. I don't know if you can see that or not. But it's a natural living soil, and so it's put together with like microorganisms, and like ultimately, like throughout this growth cycle, you'll see like some worms and different living creatures in there that actually make the soil super healthy. And the idea behind it is I'm just caring for the soil, and the soil is going to care for the plant. Right, so I'm just worrying about the environment that the soil's in. I look at the plant and I make sure it's doing okay and all that kind of stuff. But the way I treat the soil is the way the plant is basically cared for. Aside from other things, like the temperature, etc. Humidity and things like that. But the main thing, as far as the plant's nutrition, is coming from the soil. So that being said, when I transplanted them, we put this. The soil, the same soil in the grow cups that we transplanted it into. Okay, so I didn't use like a starter soil that had these special things inside of it, and then went into this other kind of soil that had its own special things. Right, I'm using this from this company called Build-A-Soil. They just came out with this stuff called Build-A-Soil 3.0, which is it's just ready to go. With all this goodness inside of it, and then you just like the idea is you don't really have to add in nutrients to the soil throughout the growth cycle. You put it in a big enough pot where it has enough nutrients, and then you put things inside of it that will actually sort of like break down and compost kind of a thing, and feed the soil naturally, and then that naturally feeds the plants, right? And awesome soil, awesome plants, then awesome oil, right? right? So the build a soil, super awesome, and there was new growth starting to come out. It's pretty cool when in these solo cups, and when we pulled it out, I cut them open too, just by the way, because they don't cost anything really, and I'm I'm not an expert at removing from these kind of things, and I'm just able to keep the integrity of the root structure that way when I pull out and transplant. So it went from build a soil to build a soil, right? The same soil, and it's the new growth that was coming out. It was maintained. There was no shock, right? Because I worked with plants, when I was a kid, and they're transplanting and doing cuttings and stuff like that, not from cannabis, but from all kinds of different plants. And there was a lot of times like some kind of a shock going from one environment to the other. And I think it's because it was the same kind of the same environment, basically, just going into from build a soil to build a soil, that it didn't really notice. And the growth didn't just continue, it sort of exploded, and there's all kinds of I'm not sure how good you can see, but there's all kinds of new little growth coming in all over, all up and down, and the height of them has increased dramatically, etc. And they've only been in here for 4 days, right? They were in the solo cups for 2 weeks prior to that, and so they were just little cuttings, and like their growth is pretty awesome right now. And like I said, I haven't put any nutrients added in except for this one. It's an old school thing that I used to use when I was literally a kid in elementary school. It's called like Super Thrive or something like that, but it's basically a kelp. It's like a seaweed, and literally with all nine plants in a 10-gallon pots, right? So that's 90 gallons, right? I used a quarter teaspoon, not per plant, but for the whole entire, for all 9 combined, just a quarter teaspoon. And that's right after I planted them, I added that in, and that's the only time I did that. And right now I'm hand watering them, so I could, I'm just like doing it by eye. It's sort of guesstimations, but it's, they're taking root, and a lot of the roots are up top, and we want them to sort of get down in there and stuff like that. So I'm trying, and there's a couple of decisions I need to make if I'm going to get a watering system, which I'll go over in a second, and that's why I haven't done that yet. Okay, and I sort of like hand watering. There is quote unquote more efficient ways. If you get these automatic systems that have sensors that and the plant can pull up when it actually needs it, and things like that. And the reason you would want to do that, just by the way, is because in a 10-gallon pot or a grow bag, it doesn't matter, pot or grow bag, a plant can consume up to a gallon, sometimes a little more per day, a gallon per day, right? Like in a half gallon or in a 5-gallon pot, it's a half gallon per day, right? In a 10-gallon. So for every 10 gallons, it's about a gallon of water that a plant could take up, a cannabis plant. And so doing that every single day, and trying to time it and all that kind of thing, it can get tedious, and it's like lugging a lot of water back and forth, etc. So just having like a reservoir and a little system where the plant could just pull up water when it needs it, can be way more efficient, and less room for human error, and a happier environment for the plants to thrive in, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And so the plants are doing awesome, they're growing, and one of the decisions I have to make, right? Well, let me go over the equipment still. I haven't gone over that, and some people would be probably curious about what I'm using. So I have a 4x4 tent. It's roughly, I forget how high the ceilings are here, about 8 or 9 feet. So it's so it's almost that tall. It's about this much from the ceiling in the room. So it's a Gorilla Grow tent with the extension with so it has like an extra extension that makes it almost hit the roof. Okay, so it's 4x4 as far as the footprint layout. All right, And then Gorilla Grow is awesome, and then this is a TSL Grower's Choice light, and it's a LED, and you could adjust it and all this kind of stuff, and you could also adjust the spectrum and the intensity and hook it up to timers and like apps and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool, and it's the ROI, I think it is ROI E420 or something like that. But it's the 420 model for Grower's Choice, the TSL, which is I forget what that stands for, but that's the company, right? And with Grower's Choice, the ROI 420, and because they have like a 720 and a 420. The 420 is good for a 4x410. All right, so that's basically the equipment that I'm using right now. So I'm not using everything that you would normally use, right? And uh, it's not in. I have some of it, and have to get some more, but it's not in here for a reason because I'm doing this series now, right? So I have a humidifier from AC Infinity that is supposedly super awesome. I just got it. So they have two versions, a small and a large, and it's the large, and the thing that's cool about it is it has a tube or whatever that could feed into the tent, and so the humidifier unit could sit outside the tent and humidify the tent, from the outside, and you could manually control it way easier. You could do it from an app on your phone because there's a controller that it hooks up to, and which is also super awesome, but it doesn't take up any space in your tent. And if I'm going to keep it like this, then I don't have any space, right? Except for, up top to hang stuff. So I have a humidifier that I'm going to install, and then I have let's see, a inline fan, right? So usually you'd hear a fan running, pulling, whatever, air out or whatever, the hot air out and stuff like that. So I have one of those as well that I'm going to install either tomorrow or over the weekend. Tomorrow's Friday, so either tomorrow or over the weekend, I'm going to do the humidifier and the inline fan, and then I have to decide if I'm going to stay in here or if I'm going to go in the two tents and have one with 4 and the other with 5. So the watering system that I use, if I get an automatic watering system, then it would if I'm going to use two tents, I would use one kind, and if I'm going to use just this tent, then I'm going to use another kind, that would be able to fit this, because I have some other, like, these cool little auto watering things that are for these kind of grow bags, this specific size, but they take up a bigger footprint than this. And the max you could fit in one of these is 4, maybe 5. So that's why I would have to go to two tents with that, and it would be really easy life as far as watering, right? And plants would thrive, and they're super awesome, and they work really well. Okay, there's another system that does a similar kind of a process, and it'll work, with this. And there's an outside reservoir. The other one, each plant has its own reservoir. This one, there's an outside reservoir, and there's these little ceramic detectors that you could put, and you could put several of them, like 2 or 3, around the edges, and make sure that so all areas of the container, get water, and the plant, the roots attach, and it's really cool. I won't get into the specifics of it, but as far as what they are, because I mentioned what they were last time, but I'll let you know which ones are which, right? So we have white truffle, purple Urkel, and sour OG. Okay, so that back row back in there, they're doing super awesome, and this one right here, so 4 plants, those 3 back there, and this one over here, this little guy right there, those are the white truffles, which is GG4, Gorilla Glue 4, which is super awesome, and peanut butter breath. All right, so I think it's also called Gorilla Butter sometimes, but it's white truffles, so GG4, with peanut butter breath. Okay, this little guy in the center, he's sort of bushy and has a little arm coming outside, whatever. Um, that he's purple Urkel. You know, purple Urkel is a cool little old school kind of a strain. They're all old school kind of strains and crosses and stuff. Which is what I was looking for this, you know, to extract the full extract cannabis oil, right? And so I just have one of those, a purple Urkel. My buddy just happened to have one. He's an excellent breeder, and you know, he has trustworthy clones and all that. So I got that from him. And Heavy Hitters, I believe, is his company. And then these four, actually all of these are from him, just by the way. And then these four are what you gonna call it? They are sour OG. Okay, sour OG. So it's sour diesel crossed with OG Kush. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all doing really, really well. The reason the purple Urkel is, if you could see it back in here, like over here. It's a little bit smaller. I don't know if you could tell, but it's a little bit smaller. It's bushier too, and because there's like a little side branch already, almost the same size as the stalk coming out of it for the side, just naturally. And but it's a little bit younger than the other ones, you know. And these plants grow quick. They can like just day by day they grow, So it's probably about 5 days younger, but it has like a ton of vegetation coming out of it, or growth coming out of it, whatever, and it's super cool. So that's the decision I need to make. I'm thinking that I'm gonna leave them in here because a lot of times people like they start like topping the clones and doing all this stuff to maximize, and get them to grow wide, instead of tall, and all this stuff. And that's why you would want to have 4 plants in a 4x4 tent and stuff like that, so they could just, get huge and flex, But uh, I haven't seen anybody, just grow a plant, and see what happens. I'm sure people do that all the time, but I personally haven't seen anybody do it. I always see everybody just start cutting back everything and saying, we don't need this, we don't need these water leaves, we don't need all this kind of stuff. And, what if you do need that? What if you do? And, because they make the environment so pristine that sometimes, like any little thing could throw off the growth cycle, right? Sometimes when you do things and leave them more to nature, you can get an easier result that's just as good. And as far as for extracting the oil, you need, you want buds. I want to burn, I burn every day, all day long. So I want to burn, some of the herbs that come off of here, and I want them to be super, cool nugs and everything like that, and super potent. But technically, they don't need to like, have like all these awesome, things, because we're not going to sell it, or we're not going to sell the buds, or anything like that. So all we need is some cool buds, and the sugar leaves and all that kind of stuff, and it's going to be fine. So I'm going to, that's a long-winded way of saying I'm going to most likely leave them in here, and I'm just going to let them grow up and fill the room, so they'll grow out, and there's so many of them close together that they'll fill the 4x4. And basically once they fill, like once the room is full, length and width wise, not necessarily height wise, but once it's filled, like front to back and side to side, that's when you start to flip it over to flower, and because you can get the maximum bang for your buck that way, right? So I'm gonna let them grow up because I have that extension, and not really worry about trimming them, and to see what happens, because it's like I said, I'm not trying to maximize this or that, this isn't my income right here, So I'm just trying to get some finished product that I can extract some oil from, and get that out to some people. like you said. So most likely I'll do that, and then I'll probably I'll get those ceramic stakes in here and stuff like that, and and have some kind of reservoir, I'll show you guys that kind of a thing. So those are sort of the plans for the future. Is I'm going to be installing the inline fan. I'm going to be installing the humidifier, and then also one other thing that's really cool, right? Is I'm there. This soil is awesome. It has all the kinds of different stuff combined in there. And to make the environment good for aeration, and then for things with microorganisms, and it's all natural, biodynamic, all that kind of stuff. But there's the guy from Build a Soil. He has a technique that he uses, or a process that he uses, whatever you want to call it, and he uses the Build a Soil like this, and you'll notice that there's a little bit of room, in or maybe back in here, there's a little bit of room, there's probably 3 or 4 inches more that I can fill up in here, which is a considerable amount, right? But what he does is so this is called Build a Soil 3.0. There's another thing that he has, that goes along with his stuff, right? So when you're using one thing, you're going to most likely use more of that same thing that goes along with it, because the supplemental things are built to match, the main thing that you just bought. The main thing being the Build a Soil. So that's why, like, my inline fan is from AC Infinity, and the humidifier is from AC Infinity, and the bags are, so just because there's a controller from AC Infinity, so like they sell all stuff that can be hooked up to that one controller, and then you can control everything from your phone. It's pretty cool. Alrighty. But anyways, there's this with this soil, he has this other stuff called, I think it's called Build a Flower or something like that, and it's sort of even more nutritious. It's not meant necessarily for like lasting soil that you could like just compost and keep living and stuff like that, but it's more of a thing where when you first plant new plants, it's almost like the added nutrition, but it's adding nutrition through similar soil that just has more nutrition in it, I guess you would say. So it's called Build a Flower, and so you put like a little layer of that, and then I might be bastardizing it a little bit, but he puts some like that Build a Flower, then puts like some cover crop kind of seeds like clover and these different things that sort of complement the cannabis growth. So you get a little bit of this vegetative growth through those seeds. They actually sprout. The ones that don't sprout become nutrition for the soil. The ones that do are almost like the cover, like the floor cover in a forest or something like that. So it's like mimicking the natural environment that might happen, if they were outdoors or whatever in nature. Like having a little cover crop, they call it. And then there's some little microbe kind of things that you could throw in there as well, and these little natural critters that will take care of gnats and different things like that, prevent them from even forming in the first place, or coming in the first place. And then after that little build up is like the Build a Soil and those other things, go up about halfway, a couple inches, and then the other half is like this straw that you put around, and that's sort of like a protective layer, and everything could still breathe, and the cover crop could still grow in there, and it intertwines with the straw, I guess, and all this stuff happens. And he has his own little process. I've never done that before, because I've never used Build a Soil before. And this Build a Soil 3.0, like I said, is new, and it's very attractive because I'm into the biodynamic, kind of process, that using the all natural substances, and having microorganisms, and like an ecosystem inside of the soil, and that's living, and that complements the plants, and they cohabitate together, and and just flourish together, right? So the idea behind it all, just by the way, is when we pull these at the end, that we'll be able to save the soil, compost the whatchamacallit, the growth from the from the cover crop, and refeed the soil that way with more nutrition, internally, that, the nutrition that it grew itself and stuff like that, and just be able to have even more nutritious soil for the next crop. So we don't have to buy new soil or anything like that. We just sort of like, um, to just keep the nutrition inside of it going, and it's literally a living ecosystem, and it's super super cool. All right, let's see. Let me think if I forgot anything. That's basically it. So thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of From Soil to Oil. And if you like these videos, make sure to like, subscribe, share to get the word out. And this is Al Marenton with Cannabis Friends and 420 Buds. Remember that a friend with weed is a friend indeed. Peace.